Three little words that have a big impact are location, location, location. To give us some context, Bruce's Beach, which is prime beachfront property in Manhattan Beach, California, was stolen from the lawful black owners due to eminent domain. After almost 100 years, in just September 2021, this land was finally returned to the black family, but had the land not been stolen, almost certainly would have made the heirs millionaires. In short, location, location, location has often signaled a denial of long-term and generational access and opportunity to land for black and other people of color. This still happens today despite federal fair housing laws that were enacted in part to memorialize Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s fight for fair housing and really just basic human civil rights after his tragic assassination. Where do we go from here?
My name is Mara Danette James Johnson, and I grew up in Brentwood, the section of Northeast Washington, D.C. We were the first blacks on our block. There were 26 houses on our block. We lived on a corner, a very large yard, had a front, a side, and a backyard. And we were the first blacks in the neighborhood. I remember the people that sold us the house were named the Belinskis. And we moved in, and then another family of my lifelong friends, they moved in on the other corner, and they had come from Fredericksburg, Virginia. So we were the only blacks in the neighborhood for a few years. And then more moved in. But not too long after we moved in, the white people on the block moved out. My best friend was Bonnie Frank, and we played every day after school. And then eventually she moved. I never understood why they all moved, but they just moved within a few years. My sister and myself at the head of the table, and Joy and Brucey, they lived next door. And we interacted with them. They were Jewish. And there was an amusement park here in Maryland. It was called Glen Echo. And we didn't know it was all white. We didn't know, I guess my father and mother didn't know it was white, because Joy and Brucey went, and they were always talking about it. The roller coaster, the Ferris wheel, the hoppy horses, and the merry-go-round, yeah. So we went, and I remember parking in the big parking lot, and my mother and father paying for us to go through, and they let us through the gates. I didn't think anything about it, because Joy and Brucey had been talking about the place. And there was a pool up on the hill, and I saw her aunt up on the hill pointing down at us. And next thing I know, they escorted us out. So she must have told them that we were black, because they lived next door, so she was over there all the time. And they put us out to get my father back his money. My father didn't argue. There was no scene. I remember I just couldn't figure out why we had to leave. And then when I saw the lady pointing down at us, I was waving at her because I knew who she was. She was their aunt. And but she told on us, and they put us out. So we couldn't go back until the early 60s after integration. And then we would always go every Easter. All the black kids would catch the bus and go out there and go to the amusement park. Because I was so young when all of this went down, I don't really remember my parents ever saying anything about racism. That was never a word they used. I don't think they ever explained anything to us. I just knew all of my friends just immediately moved out of the neighborhood.
So location, location, location is always going to be the phrase that people look in when they're determining value for a community. Again, Black people lead in culture for America and how things and products are sold. And it's easy to strip value and resources away from a community to keep it devalued. So that way it's easy to come back in with gentrification to be able to remove and outprice people that have lived most of their lives in those communities. America was designed to make sure we didn't have access. Real estate and fair housing, which is essential for a community to thrive. But housing plays a part in every form of government in America. It actually proves how much tax dollars will come in, whether it's a residential space or a commercial space. That's the type of tax revenue that comes in. So your schools, your health deserts, in terms of where you have access for, medical services, food deserts. We don't need chicken joints. I know everybody loves their chicken, but we don't need it everywhere. And as a vegan, that is powerful for me to be able to have more healthier food options. Location, location, location is where am I going to have the access to the food? Where am I going to have the access to shopping? How good are my schools?
Several different things for me. One, as a realtor and working in commercial real estate, it means high in-town neighborhoods, somewhere near transit, the ability to be able to get to interstates and airports in a very fast manner, very quick, short distances, obviously transit, and just roads, bridges that we can travel on in an easy way. That's what we look at when we call high in-town neighborhoods. The issue with that, though, is we get into affordability. We get into into how can we preserve the character and integrity of our neighborhoods, but also plan for future growth and development. And so one of the things that we've been working on in the neighborhood, so in my various hats of community leadership with Empire Board of Realtors, or even just with the Atlanta Commercial Board of Realtors, with the Governmental Affairs Committee, is just really getting into the legislation around zoning, around housing affordability, ways that we can preserve the character, work with our existing legacy residents with down payment assistance, or providing business capital for small developers to increase housing stock. But again, to make sure that it's equitable, but also we know that we need to increase density. So the ways to do that, but we don't want to do it where we're not encouraging inclusivity. It needs to be throughout the entire city of Atlanta, and it also needs to include all neighborhoods as well as all business stakeholders.